Today is Friday, September 23rd, and you are now tuned in to Nerd Church Radio. Hallelujah.
God said, "Let there be comics."
Hello and welcome to episode 5 of NCR. I am Benjamin Dupé.
And I'm Bradley Butin.
And we are your comic book demigods, here to rain down eternal spoilers on your nerdy minds.
You're welcome.
But seriously, we at NCR are a spoiler podcast, so
You've been warned.
You've been warned. So we will be spoiling all the books we covered this week. We are going to try a slightly different format this week, where we do slightly shorter recaps and slightly longer reviews that are a little bit more in depth, where we can kind of yammer on a little bit about our thoughts on the books and stuff. That way, you know, when we give you a good idea of what our thoughts were on the book and all that stuff. So we had a slightly shorter week this week. I felt like DC Comics this week just took a breath, like
yeah,
all those climactic, like, you know, story arc ends, they all just ended, and now like we're just like back to normal life, just hanging out and chilling out.
You know, it's funny you say it that way, because in a couple, there's absolutely back to normal life, but we'll get into that.
Same here, man. Like, Superman's back at Kemp Farms.
Yep. Trinity was just awesome.
Trinity, they're at Kemp Farms. Yeah. There's another, except for Night of the Monster Men. That's very much not back to normal life, but that's, you know, that's a whole other story that we'll get into shortly. So yeah, we have a slightly shorter week this week, only 9 books to cover, which is a short week for us. Normally there's like 15 plus, so we should have a little more time for our stupid shenanigans, so strap in, because it's gonna be a bumpy ride.
Hey Ben.
Hey Brad.
I think you've made like 2 minutes without a Batman voice.
Yeah, well, I'll wait. I'm gonna wait, because I got some good Batman voice prompts here coming up. So we here at NCR do have a rating system. Gideon, what's our rating system like?
If a comic book is bad, we rate it as blasphemy. If the book is good, we give our blessing. If the book is not bad, not good, but just kind of meh, we rate it as stuck in purgatory. If the book is great, we rate it as holy. And if a comic book exceeds all standards of awesomeness, we rate that book as salvation.
All right, thank you very much for that, Gideon. I'm going to kick things off here with Justice League number 5, just kind of cleanse myself of all of the garbage of this week with our first book, because this was by far the worst book of the week, and I'm hoping that...
I might beg to differ on that.
I know what you're talking about, and Aquaman was better than Justice League, man.
No way.
No, it was Justice League. I don't know. In my humble opinion, Justice League was bad, but we'll jump into it here with a short recap of what happened in Justice League. So first off, story by Brian Hitch, penciled by Tony S. Daniel, inked by Sandu Florer, and colored by Tomi Mori. So the recap on this book, it starts off with Aquaman swimming around the ocean with some crystals that are singing to him. Aquaman thinks that these crystals are the key to saving the world. Then we cut to Batman, Lois, and Cyborg just chilling at Kemp Farms. Cyborg's kind of reeling back from getting overtaken by these alien creatures that apparently have some connection to the Kindred. Flash radios them and tells them, hey, you guys got to get over here, help me out. Wherein Flash is hanging out by all the singing giants that, you know, that's the Kindred. They're just hanging out, singing, being giants and whatnot. So then we cut to Superman, who's in the Earth's core trying to stop these aliens' backup devices that are set to destroy the planet if the aliens don't succeed in their mission to... What exactly? I don't know.
Kill everybody by song.
We never find out what they're actually trying to do. Speak at us in terrible riddles, I guess. I don't know.
Do you think some of the kindred can start like getting some instruments? Like one can play guitar, one can get some drums.
Man, that your guess is as good as mine, because that.
Or are they more like the Buddhist monks? Go, oh.
I don't know, man. We don't know what they are, and that's the problem with this book. So anyway, Bats and Cyborg meet up with the Flash and Wonder Woman, who decides to join the party. She pops out of one of these giants' armpits and is all like, "Hey, what up, my fellow brethren? Shall we kick some rainbow giant butt?" Then, if the story wasn't confusing, bland, and basic enough, the giants join hands and erupt a huge beam of light energy into the sky. Because we all know the original thing that this book needed was a giant energy burst going into the sky, like
Suicide Squad.
Yeah, or any freaking what's the Michael Bay movie ever made?
Not everyone ever made.
I mean, Amazing Spider-Man 2. You got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1. I mean, these are just the ones that are coming off the top of my head.
They
that
didn't
have
do Spider-Man.
No, but I'm just saying movies that had burst of energy going into the sky. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's just, anyway. So, and we have comic books fans know anything. We know that the sign of the end of the world, or at least the final epic battle scene, is a burst of energy into the sky. And Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, and Cyborg are all taking these giants apart any way they know how to. So,
and they don't know anyway, right?
No, they don't. They're just kind of fighting it out. If all else fails and there's no tangible story or real thing happening, just start kicking some butt.
Right.
That's what the Justice League does.
Batman's a detective. Figure it out.
Yeah, or just beat it up. I'm gonna beat it up if I can't figure it out. I'm gonna beat it up, bro. All right. Aquaman is taking his crystals up to the surface to his final location, and surprise, it's with the others at the final epic battle scene. Superman is trying to get this last giant lava explosive device out of the center of the Earth. The Green Lanterns decide to take all these weird mutated cyborg look-alike creatures and just make like a Green Lantern tube and dump them all on top of the Kindred for some reason, because that's gonna do something. And I say apparently because there's no actual evidence of how this works. Aquaman pops out of the ocean and smashes these crystals onto the surface of the Earth, creating a huge seismic boom. Superman gets the huge lava bomb out from the center of the Earth and throws it at the Kindred to defeat them. How this doesn't kill all of the innocent people that are making up the Kindred is completely beyond me. That's I thought they were trying to find a solution to this that wouldn't kill all those people, but I guess, if you can't, then just take a giant lava ball and throw it at them, whatever. And the story arc...
Cue the Haruken.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure what that means, but...
Street Fighter 2?
Me not knowing what it means that it would fit in with the current theme of the book, which is me being confused as hell the whole time.
Amen.
So the story arc ends with the Justice League concluding that this is not yet over. The end.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that was like going around the block, but going the opposite way than you should on every turn.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It was weird. It was just freaking weird. It was like watching... It's like it's like me taking a biology class or something. That's how I felt reading this comic. Which, reading a comic book for me should not be like reading a biology textbook and being confused as hell about everything that's going on. I should be enjoying it. So anyway, how was the art? The art was literally the only thing that this book had going for it, and was also my favorite part of the story arc. Lots of pretty pictures, color spectrums, beautiful landscapes, and cool shots of the Justice League. I had no problem with the flow of this book. Visually, I understand everything that was happening. The Kindred looked pretty cool, and if the writing was more on par, it actually could have been executed really well. They looked like cool villains. They were these weird giants that are built up from a bunch of innocent people, and they're visually very cool, but just no idea what's
Dr.
happening.
Manhattans, pretty much.
Exactly, yeah. And that's what I thought they were doing at first, but I don't know. I think they're playing the long game with that one. So, the story on this one, as if I hadn't already talked about it enough, is very confusing and difficult to follow. I'm a huge fan of stories that aren't afraid to leave readers making their own conclusions. Like Coen Brothers. Have you ever watched any of the Coen Brothers stuff, like Fargo or anything? Yeah. So Fargo season 2, there was this random UFO sighting in the middle of the show. It has nothing to do with UFOs. They don't address it at any point in the show. It's just this giant question mark. And it's kind of cool because it's the rest of the story is really fleshed out and done really well, but it's just this one thing that people have to draw their own conclusions on. But the thing about doing something like that is the rest of the story has to be fleshed out really well in order for that to kind of work. So, I mean, that being said, I do feel if you're going to confuse the audience, you need to at least allow them to know what is going on or have somewhat of a grip on what is actually going on in the story. Who are the kindred? Where did they come from? What's their purpose here? What's the deal with all these weird-looking mutated cyborgs on another planet? Do they come from space? And if so, why do they also have these lava bomb devices that are planted beneath the Earth's surface?
And what planet are they coming from?
Exactly. I mean, these are all questions that I was left with at the end of the story. This is way too many questions to leave a reader with. It just is. And if I wasn't reading these books just for the purpose of reviewing them for you lovely people, I would not buy this book again. I would not recommend that you go out and buy this book. If this was the first comic book that I ever read, which, if it's a Justice League title, there's a good chance that it's someone's first comic book. And, like, I probably wouldn't pick up comic books again for a while because I'd be like, man, this is confusing as all hell. I'm not going to keep reading comic books if this is what it has for you. From a narrative perspective, the book was also kind of lacking a lot. It's really hard to tell a story with so many key players and keep the narrative solid, you know, when you're jumping around so much from Flash to Green Lantern to Cyborg to Wonder Woman to Batman, like, you have to have a really good story for that to remain cohesive, and they didn't have that, so it was also a really tough read.
So do you think this Justice League is just to have a Justice League book now?
I don't know, man. I think that
something more are they gonna lead to something bigger, better, or
I think that Brian Hitch had big plans for this. I think that he, you know, I don't know. I think he had great intentions for this book. I just don't think that it was very well, like, panned out. I don't think that he did very well with it. It was just a very choppy narrative. Like I said, I think, like, I don't know, man. I'm hoping that he gets some feedback on the way this book was written and, like, the negative feedback, and he cleans up his act. I don't know if he's going to continue writing the Justice League, but I feel like they deserve a better writer. And the last thing I had to say about this book was, other than the fact that there are these weird giants and aliens taking over the planet, there's no real, like, conflict here, like, between, I don't know, man. It's just like, here's the bad guys, here's the Justice League facing off. There's no, like, internal struggle. You're not fleshing out any of the characters. You're not learning anything about any of the characters that you didn't already know. And there's a lot I don't know about these characters. I mean, I'm a new comic book reader, so I don't know. I just feel like the Justice League deserves a better, you know, conflict than that. So, yeah, I don't know. You've read a couple... Oh, and by the way, if you couldn't tell from my current, you know, way that I'm talking about this, I'm rating this as blasphemy. Complete, straight up, and it's hard for me to give something blasphemy, man.
Especially, like, Justice League.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Like, I've been given this purgatory. I've been given, like, a purgatory hall pass all you know, 6 issues, or what are we at, 5 issues now, and, like, I can't do it anymore in good faith, man. I can't even say, like, you should maybe pick this up. It's bad. It's a bad book. It's nonsense. So, yeah, I don't know. You kind of felt the same way, right?
Yeah, what are they doing?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just, sorry, I went on a rant there a little bit about it, but it's just, it makes me upset to read a book that I have such high expectations for and just, like, piddles out so horribly. I don't know. Yeah, so.
Yeah, and also, you know, this one confuses me with everything else that's going on in Rebirth, like with the solo titles, with, like, Trinity, with Cyborg, with Aquaman, because this is coming out and all this other stuff is going on at the same time, or is it the same time, or when is this taking place?
I actually talked to Katie about that. Katie's the manager of a local comic book shop, and this is an issue I've started having, because Rebirth is the first time that I think either of us have, like, been like, we're going to read all the comics in this publication line, every single one of them. And for me, it's like, okay, I'm reading this, and I'm also reading Aquaman, so which happened first, Justice League or Aquaman? And Katie's like, yeah, they're all in the same continuity. You just kind of have to take hints of, there's little pieces that are dropped here and there to kind of hint at you of which one took first or second. But yeah, definitely gonna say that this is blasphemy. I don't know, man. I just hope it gets better. So you got, and I wanted to get that out of the way first because there's some other really, really great titles this week that I want to get to. So, Brad, what do you got next?
Well, I mean, I'm going to start off with Green Arrow #7, Sins of the Mother. And
yeah, that'll lighten things up, actually, because that's a great book so far.
Yeah, so I mean, we're going to go from bad to, in my opinion, pretty darn good.
Awesome. I need it.
So this is written by Benjamin Percy.
Yep.
And the art and color is by Stephen Byrne.
Okay.
And we pick up pretty much right where we left off. And if you don't know, you can listen to our last podcast or just briefly. Emmy is getting to meet Obion, who is the guy that pretty much owns her mother.
And who is Emmy, by the way?
Emmy is the sister of Oliver Queen and the daughter to Shadow.
Okay, great.
This book, it's a lot like the Arrow show, where it's in between two timelines. You got we're in Seattle a year ago, and then we're in present time Tokyo is where this series is set. Okay.
Kind of doing the same thing they do in the Arrow t-shirt.
Absolutely.
The Arrow t-shirt. No, what they do in the Arrow TV show. Where
the Arrow t-shirt's not in two different eras.
Right, yeah. No, what they do on the TV show where they're jumping back and forward and storytelling an narrative that way, which is cool. Like, it's their thing. It's their niche.
We start off in Seattle 1 year ago, and Green Arrow and Emmy are taking down some pissed-off lumberjacks.
Bro.
Yeah.
Pissed off lumberjacks. That's new.
With chainsaws and all. It's pretty cool.
Like plaid flannel shirts and stuff.
Exactly.
Nice. Okay.
With cool. With long beards. Exactly.
So basically, like me, if I was pissed off.
And you need a couple more pounds on.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
Yeah. So and then all of a sudden, Ollie starts to slow down. He's talking about how he can't even hold up his bow. So
do you hate it when that happens?
Yeah.
But boom.
I fell for it.
I'm here all night, folks.
Yes, you are. And after Oliver starts to slow down, Emmy apologizes to him for getting him to put on one of the watches. And these watches are from this Clock King person. Yeah, which the Clock King, he gives you these watches. Yeah, he puts these watches on you, and it's kind of like a transporter type, or not transporter. What's the movie? It's the pacemaker type thing. It's the guy who played in the Transporter. What am I thinking about? The one where he has to keep his heart rate. Crank. It's like Crank, where you have to keep your heart rate up to a certain point or something. Well, kind of. It's like a pacemaker. So Clock King can actually slow this down until you're dead, or he can speed it up to make you go faster. Or speed it up to make you get older? Just faster. To make you move faster? Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Cool. But anyway, so after during all this, a hologram of the Clock King pops up out of this watch, and it's talking to Oliver and tells him that he needs to get to. He has 1 hour to bring him $1 million. Classic. Yep. Classic villain. So Oliver shows up, of course, with no money, and starts to threaten him. Well, the Clock King decides to turn it down so he can overpower Oliver. Okay. And then he puts him in this 1960s Batman TV show pendulum trap, I guess. Like sort of like hypnotizing him or whatever. Like no, it's I can't even think of the word that I'm looking for. You know the traps in the old Batman TV series where will the dynamic duo face certain death? Find out next week. Okay. Well, yeah. So Oliver finds himself in one of these with a pendulum going on him, and all of a sudden it's even starting to cut him a little bit. Okay. Just then, Emmy decides to bust into the door, and she has a bomb strapped to her chest, and it's also strapped to her heart rate. Tick tock. So she tells the Clock King that if she doesn't let Oliver go and remove the watches, that she's going to blow them all up. Boom. Yeah. So the Clock King lets Oliver go. Oliver beats the crap out of him. The police come. They throw him in jail. And that's about everything that goes on in the Seattle part a year ago. Okay. So and that was 1 year ago, so that's not present time. Right. So okay. Now present time Tokyo. Okay. We have Emmy and we have Obion, who reveals to her as the Dragon.
So Abian is the dragon?
Abian refers to himself as the Dragon.
Now, we don't know what that is yet, but
right.
maybe.
So, and then he also tells Emmy that he should kill her for what she's done, but instead he's going to bring her to the arena and have a worthy opponent, and the worthy opponent turns out to be him.
Okay.
And Obian turns into this dragon creature, and then Shadow is in the front row, and she can't take it enough because Emmy's getting her butt kicked because she's a 14-year-old girl.
Right.
And she's finally decided I probably should be a better mother than this, and so Shadow comes out, and she ends up fighting the dragon.
Okay.
And then she tells them that she planted C4 all over the arena, and they blow it up.
Okay.
So Shadow and Emmy get away.
Right.
And Shadow tells Emmy that she needs to go back to Oliver, and that Shadow has to go do some things to kind of clear her name. She's kind of got to go on the run for a little while.
Okay.
So that was the issue. The art was awesome. I really like the style.
Really? You think so?
I do. To me, it reminds me of an animated movie.
Yeah, it kind of has the feeling of like an old Disney movie. I'm looking at this dragon creature right now. It's like an old. It's like I feel like I'm watching Mulan. Maybe I don't know. I may be off base there, but like, kind of has that. Maybe it's just because there's been kind of an Asian there's been Asian overtones or sort of Oriental overtones to like this. So like I don't know. I get that feeling from it.
Yeah, and first, I really think that the art matches the story.
Yeah.
I mean, I really, really hope that DC will turn this into an animated movie. I mean, I'll buy it.
Yeah, man. I've been watching some animated movies lately too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were watching a Green Arrow one earlier today. That for his kind of like his origin story or whatever.
Oh, I think I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like that was what like the live action movie should have been was that.
In the Green Arrow, if it's the one that I'm thinking of, Neil McDonough is the voice of Green Arrow in that. If it's the one I'm thinking of, but which is weird because Neil McDonough became the bad guy in the last season of Arrow. So just a little tidbit.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yep. So I actually thought the narrative was really great in this. I love the writing. I love the conversations. I thought how everything worked very well together.
So how do you feel like the narrative was told? Like who took your hand and brought you through like this story? Like mainly, like what characters were you exposed to the most?
This was an ensemble. I feel like the one that comes out the most for me is Emmy in this.
Okay.
And which I think is good.
Cool.
I mean, to me, she's kind of the main character right now for this kind of run, I think.
Cool.
I mean, Green Arrow's there. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more Green Arrow in it. You know.
Do you learn anything cool about her as a person, or?
Yeah, I mean, I look at her and I think of Thea from the show. I know it's totally not a different.
Hey, no, that's
person,
okay, man. Like people relate to what they know best, and like we watch the TV shows before we read the comics. Crucify us if you want to, but that's just how a lot of people do too.
And I like the show. I love the show. It's one of my favorite shows.
I'm like 50-50. I liked the first 2 seasons of the show, and then it got kind of like a little melodramatic for me. But I think they recognize that, and I'm really hoping they swing because they had such a great first couple seasons. That was actually the first superhero TV show that my wife and I watched was Arrow, and it was like holy. I always pass by it on Netflix. It's like this is the freaking just shirtless dude. This is probably not something I'm going to be
doing the
into.
salmon ladder.
Little did I know it's like this awesome vigilante story. Right. It's really cool. Okay, cool. So yeah, you learned about her. So
yeah, I love the dialogue. And I really like the dialogue the most of the Clock King and Abian. Abian I thought was just kind of cool.
Okay.
I think he's a good villain. I really wish that we would get more of his backstory. I understand we don't need it now because it's really a small part in the reference to Emmy because this is just something that has to deal with Shadow.
Do you know like why he's messing with them so much?
Yeah, I mean, in the issue, Abian says that he owns her family since her grandmother. So her mother is paying off her grandmother's debt, and then
whose grandmother? Who?
Emmy's.
Okay,
or
okay,
Shado's
cool.
mom.
Okay, cool, sure.
So the debt's been owed. They don't say what the debt was or what happened or anything like that, but
okay,
it would be kind of cool to figure that out sometime.
Cool. Yeah, I always like to know, because a villain is never a villain in their own mind. You know,
Right.
They always feel justified in their actions. So I feel like if you're going to have a good villain, it's always a good idea to sort of, tell people why he's doing what he's doing or whatever. It's good to learn about that stuff.
Yeah. So, other than that, the only thing that that I could see that could have been done better is they didn't explain how Oliver got a watch.
Okay.
And that part kind of bugged me there at the beginning, because it was right away. All of a sudden, Oliver starts slowing down, like, oh, he's got a watch. But the last issue, I don't remember him getting a watch. I remember Emmy getting the watch. I don't remember Oliver though.
Huh. Yeah, maybe that's something they'll answer in a flashback like they like to do, or who knows. Yeah. Sometimes questions are left unanswered, and sometimes it's okay, Sometimes it's not. If it's a good enough story, it's like, who cares, You gotta watch, whatever.
Absolutely. And, because of that, I'm going to rate this as holy, a high holy.
Okay. So is that all you got for that one?
That's it, man.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I keep telling myself I'm going to pick this one up, start reading it. I got a million things on my read list, and now I'm doing the weekly scripture thing, which I went back and read. I'll go into that later. But it's, we got endless supply of stuff to read. So this is on my list. It's something I've heard great things about. But if you're into the show Green Arrow, or you just want to start reading DC Comics, this is issue 7. So the first story arc is probably going to be out on a trade paperback. Head into Mayhem Comics or some other comic shop or online or somewhere and pick it up, man. You'll probably really enjoy it. So
yeah, it's a great series.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. So I got next. So I kind of go back and forth about this, but I think I need to do my 2 books in a row next because they're part of a mini series.
Go for it.
I have Batman number 7 and Nightwing number 5, but they're both. So Batman is Night of the Monster Men part 1, and Nightwing is part 2. So.
Ooh, speaking Spanish even.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were bilingual.
I am, but that's the extent of my bilingualness. So, I learned it from my wife.
I see. So the blind man to the deaf woman in the dark room.
Yeah, you lost me there. I don't know. Okay, all right.
I lose myself all the time.
All right. So, Batman number 7, written by Steve Orlando and Tom King. I'm going to say this in my low voice. Penciled and inked by Riley Rossmo and colored by Ivan Placencia.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was also, I could say, Placencia in my low voice. All right. So the book starts off with a bunch of dead bodies in a morgue. And this book is awesome. It's just a freaking, horror movie. It's so great.
So you're setting the mood to go to a morgue?
I am. That's where all the hot stuff happens. Is it
Ariel,
the morgue, right?
I feel sorry for you right
that's
now.
where we all went on our first dates and stuff, right? This is at the morgue.
Morgue.
Yeah.
Morgue, yeah.
This
That's
is the
right. I took
Gotham
my wife
City
for-
morgue. Yep. Okay. Yeah, we're getting way off base here really early in the show. All right.
Ariel, you lucky girl, you.
Yeah, she is. She knows it. All right, so this book starts off with a bunch of dead bodies in a morgue starting to decompose all on their own. They're kind of fizzling and their toes are falling off and stuff. And you hear a radio show announcer, kind of like us, talking about how there's a terrible storm that's about to hit Gotham, which is kind of cool. It's some foreshadowing going on there. Kind of fun. Batman and Batwoman are hanging out on a rooftop talking about how they need to start trying to get people to safety, get them to higher ground and stuff because Gotham City is about to start flooding. There is a flood watch in effect. Then Nightwing, Orphan, Spoiler, and Clayface all show up, which, if you didn't know, this is a crossover event between Batman Detective Comics, and Nightwing. So we then see a totally ripped Doctor Strange working out in the nude, and someone radios him and tells them that it's almost time.
Dr. Hugo Strange.
Dr. Hugo Strange. We're
Okay,
not
not
talking
to be
Marvel here.
yeah,
Yeah,
right,
we're not talking Marvel. No.
Okay.
And I did not know Doctor Strange was so ripped, and I also didn't know that he liked to lift weights naked, but I guess you learn something new every day, whatever. So then we see all the bodies in the morgue decompose further and start turning into crazy horror movie style monsters, and Doctor Strange says this is Batman's final night. I feel like he has a Swedish, this is Batman's final night, and he twirls his mustache. Mwahaha. I don't know. Anyway, up on the roof, Batman is giving orders like he owns the damn place and telling Clayface to morph into cops and help escort people to safety. He also tells Spoiler and Orphan to go with Clayface, who is now a bunch of cops, like he morphed himself into multiple police officers, and go to the caves to try and get people to higher ground. Why the caves are higher ground is beyond me, but whatever. So then the whole team hears a huge boom and are all like, yeah, that was definitely big footsteps of a giant monster thing walking around. We then get a beautiful splash page of this horror movie style monster terrorizing Gotham, and it's freaking beautiful and awesome. It's so cool, man. Where's this book? I need you to see it. Hold on. So Bats radios and tells Alfred to try and figure out what all the commotion is, and Alfie, that's what I'm going to call Alfred from now on, is Alfie.
Alfie?
Yep, he finds the monsters and is like, yeah, dude, it's a monster. There's no other way for me to put this. This is definitely a monster. So Bats tells the others to go back to trying to get people to safety while him, Nightwing, and Batwoman go and take care of this giant monster. Then Batman hops into his bat plane and starts trying to attack the monster with it, which is basically a giant pus-filled baby destroying crap. The monster destroys the bat plane with a one fell swoop and almost immediately, and Batman ejects out of it and flying, and then he starts flying these glider wings around that Steel built for him, apparently.
Cool.
Yeah, Batwoman and Nightwing are on the ground, and Batman decides to crash into this giant monster baby, eject himself, and blow up his glider wing package inside of the monster baby, which knocks the monster baby out. Then we cut back to a quick look at Spoiler, Orphan, and Clayface trying to escort people to higher ground so they'll be safe from the flood. Then it's back to Bats, Nightwing, and Batwoman. Batman is sedating the giant monster with a giant-size injector needle. Dang, Batman.
That was just kind of hanging out there.
Yeah, that utility belt gets more impressive every day, dude. All right, he also sends a DNA sample back to Alfie and Duke in the Bat Cave to test out for him. I feel like Alfie and Duke, that could be like a sitcom, like This Week on Alfie and Duke. Alfie tries to cook while Duke goes out on a date. All right.
I don't even got something funny to say about that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right, so he sends a DNA sample back to him, and Alfred determines that this monster was derived from a human, and that human is Robert Castro, which I don't know if you read Batman number 2, but in Batman number 2, this guy Robert Castro walks into Commissioner Gordon's office, and he slits his own throat in front of Commissioner Gordon after he says the night of the monster men are coming. And it's crazy. So we now see what the context of that was in this issue. So Robert Castro, he was in the care of Doctor Strange in the last story arc. Amanda Waller had hired Doctor Strange to keep Psycho Pirate in check. So, everything's starting to be connected to everything else. Then Batman's realizing that this is connected to Strange when suddenly the team sees another giant monster, and it's to be continued in Nightwing number 5. So I'll go ahead and review this book first, and then I'll recap and review Nightwing number 5. So the art was fan-freaking-tastic. I am a huge horror movie lover, and because of this, I absolutely love the entire concept of this book. It's like combining two of my favorite things, Reese's Pieces and Mountain Dew, or horror movies and comic books. It's just a good team-up. I really love the way that the artist did the raindrops falling throughout the entire issue, because it helped to create a connective and cohesive issue that flows really well and just kind of feels right. I'm going to be interested to see how other artists take this and try and make it their own while still connecting it to, because it's going to be 3 art teams doing this. So far so good. And speaking of so far so good, the story is so far so good. Again, loving the horror movie aspect of this so far. The story seems fairly simple and kind of like a novelty so far, but that's okay because it's not trying to be anything more than that. I think the placement of this crossover is really well timed just because we're getting a good look at how everyone is reacting to Tim Drake's death in the last story arc of Detective Comics, which, that just happened, and this is a good place to explore that a little bit. So,
right.
Batman's reeling back from it. We haven't really gotten a window into how Spoiler, or Steph, is reacting to it just yet. I think
she probably hasn't had time.
Yeah, I mean, her boyfriend dies and then these giant monster babies just start attacking Gotham,
Yeah.
Life is tough. I think that the writer will give us bits and pieces of that throughout this whole miniseries, though. I still, to this day, haven't gotten a ton of exposure to Dr. Hugo Strange, so I'll be excited to get a closer look at him and what's motivating his actions in this and how this whole Frankenstein scheme he's cooked up is going to play out. I mean, we all know that he hates Batman, but do you know why he hates Batman?
I do not.
I don't either. I mean, other than, he's a bad
guy, and bad guys generally don't like the good guys.
Yeah, but, we're reading literature here. Yeah. There has to be more than that. So, it'll be interesting to find out what that more is. I
know they talk about it in, well, I guess it wouldn't be Batman, but I know Hugo Strange is in Gotham Season 2.
Yeah, and the Arkham video games, he was in some of those. I mean, I've seen him from place to place, but I don't really recall ever finding out an origin story for Doctor Strange or what his deal is or why he's such a dick. So, I don't know if this is the most original way to tell a story, but again, they're kind of doing this whole horror movie thing that I think there's a certain level of campiness that we're allowed to accept from all this.
The campiness that Justice League failed on.
Yeah, well, they weren't even trying to be campy. I mean, they were more just serious and generic. This is it's something like an old 70s horror movie with bad effects. It's giant monster babies attacking the town. That's just funny, and kind of cool. So, I don't know. I think my least favorite thing about this book was all the moving parts and how little time we have to explore them. I want to see how all the members of this team, Batman, Batwoman, Spoiler, Orphan, Nightwing, Duke, and Alfred, are reacting to Tim Drake's death. Yeah, but there just isn't enough time in 6 issues to give us that exploration. So I think they're going to go beyond this 6 issues to give us all of it. I want to see Doctor Strange be completely fleshed out as a villain, and I really do feel as though if this is only 6 issues, that I'll be left wanting more at the end of all of it, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Always leave the reader wanting more. That's okay. So all the books right now that are combined into this, Detective Comics and Batman and Nightwing, they're all really great books, and I'm just loving learning more about them, especially Dick Grayson, because I've recently learned a lot about Dick Grayson from you and my wife talking to me about him, and it's just, he's a really cool character, so I enjoy learning about him. This one gets a holy from me, which means it is great, and if you want to hear what happens next, just keep on listening, because I'm going to jump on over to Nightwing number 5, Night of the Monster Men Part 2.
Right now.
Yeah, what did you think, though, just leafing through it? You think some you'd be interested in?
Oh, yeah. I love Nightwing. I love Nightwing.
Yeah. Horror movies? You like horror movies?
I love horror movies. Let's put Batman in a horror movie. I'm sold.
Yeah, man, it really suits him. These big scary monsters facing off with a giant dark bat.
Maybe that would have made Pacific Rim better. Put Batman in it.
I think Batman's kind of the thing in comic books is hey, it's issue 3 and our book isn't selling worth a crap. Let's throw Batman in there and see if people will buy some issues. He's the Band-Aid that writers put on anything, Man of Steel 2. Well, Man of Steel 1 got a lot of critical response. It wasn't so good. Let's put Batman in the movie and see if it does better. He's just everyone loves Batman. He makes everything cooler. So it's
he does.
Putting him in a horror movie, though, I'm A-okay with that. So, jumping over to Nightwing number 5, Night of the Monster Men Part 2, written by Steve Orlando again and Tim Seeley, I believe. Yeah, and so I think Steve Orlando is kind of overseeing this whole thing through all the story arcs, and then each of the individual writers, I think, are helping out to make sure that their stories remain intact somewhere in all this mess. So it's like this, a lot of plates being balanced here. And art by Roge Antonio, or Roge Antonio. I'm not sure. It's Roge. Anyway, this book starts off where we left off the last time, where there's a giant wolf-looking monster that's currently terrorizing Gotham. Nightwing, Batman, and Batwoman are doing their best to take care of the beast and keep the citizens of Gotham safe. Batman orders Nightwing to go to the city morgue. Hey, go to the city morgue. Investigate where this thing came from. All right, and Batman...
Yes, on a good day's work for superheroes.
Yes. Clayface, Orphan, and Spoiler are still out at Alexander Olsen State Park trying to keep everyone safe, like all the citizens safe and away from the floodwaters. Bat tells Duke to activate the Bat Beacon, which is this cool awareness protocol that Duke made while he's studying under Batman. Every single streetlight in Gotham is now projecting a hologram of Batman, and the hologram is telling the citizens that Batman and his team are doing everything they can to keep them safe. And, we'll get through this, and in the morning things will be brighter.
Whoa, it's Batman. I want to see. I want to watch.
And this isn't the warning that you need, but it's the warning that you deserve.
Martha.
That joke is gonna get old someday, man. But that
but
day is not today. Nope. All right, so every single streetlight is lighting up and assuring all the Gothamites. Yeah, Gothamites, I think.
People who live in Gotham.
That everything is going to be okay. Back at Alexander Olsen State Park, things are starting to get a little crowded, and Spoiler is being kind of a downer and grumpy and all that. Back in Gotham City, Nightwing, Batman, and Batwoman are still fighting this beast when, bam! Out of nowhere, this thing sprouts another head. Just sprouts another head out of its neck. No big deal, whatever. Yeah. We're just gonna keep going. And Batman is all like, Nightwing, why are you still here? I told you to go to the morgue. And Batman's trying to keep his friends out of harm's way because Tim Drake just died and he wants to shoulder all the danger. So I guess Batwoman is just chopped liver at this point. I don't know, whatever. Batwoman, you can stay here and fight with me, but Tim Drake, get out of danger's way.
Yeah, he's Tim Drake, Dick Grayson.
Dick Grayson. Batman and Batwoman hop on some new motorcycles and Tim...
Albuquerque.
All right. Batman and Batwoman hop on some new motorcycles.
47.
And Tim heads to the morgue. Alfred and Duke are back at the Batcave analyzing the DNA of the monsters that are attacking Gotham. Nightwing arrives to the morgue and realizes that there are 4 tables with monster goo all over them, but only 2 monsters that are accounted for. And he's like, ruh-roh.
Ruh-roh, Raggy.
Yeah, that's no good. All right, so suddenly a new monster that looks like a spider had a nightmare about a scarier spider pops up in Gotham and is like, guess what? Yep, you guessed it, terrorizing people.
The Spider-Man is terrorizing Gotham.
Yeah. It does, though. It looks like... Are you looking at this thing right now?
I am.
It looks like if a spider had a scary dream about the spider of its nightmares. It's so freaking awesome. It's great.
Right.
So the spider is terrorizing people, breaking into Blackgate, which is going to create tons of chaos, I'm sure. All these prisoners breaking out of Blackgate prison. Back at the Batcave, Gotham Girl decides that she's had enough of sitting around and chilling while people are up there getting hurt or dying or risking their lives. And the last page is a splash of Gotham Girl flying out of the Batcave to save the day at Blackgate Prison. So, how was the art on this one?
Awesome.
I think it was pretty good. I think the art was consistent with the last issue.
It was.
Yeah, the raindrops are this thing that connect everything. I think the only reason that they had it rain in these issues is so that that's one thing that's happening all the time that makes all the books look the same, even though they're by different artists. At least it's raining. I'm sure there's another purpose for it, but that helps. So, again, I have to say I freaking love the monsters. I really think of anything... I'm sorry, I cannot really think of anything that these monsters resemble from past movies or comics, but it does appear as though they take influence from an old 60s horror flick or 70s horror flick with practical effects, like I said earlier. All in all, I feel that the art was just as good as in this issue as it was in Batman number 7. How was the story, Brad? You don't know, because you haven't read the book. But I'm going to tell you how the story was. The story is simple, but good.
It's a continuation. I mean,
it is. Yeah, it very much is. It's difficult to give a review on this one that doesn't really repeat what what the last one, I had to say about the last one. The writer is still the same, well, the main writer at least, and so far everything that's happened has been really great. I've yet to see Doctor Strange fleshed out as a villain, and I do hope that they devote one issue, or at least half of an issue, to giving us some of his story and why he's got it out for bats this time.
But you got his butt crack, though.
You got his butt crack, so hey, what more can you ask for?
That's right.
All right. So I also feel like they've started to explore Orphan and the stick that she currently has up her butt. However, I do feel like the time would be better spent on Spoiler, just because she was Tim Drake's romantic interest, and I want to see how she's reacting to his death. Maybe that's a bigger story that they're saving for a different story arc, and that deserves its own story arc, I think. I feel like a Spoiler, miniseries would actually be deserving of her reaction to Tim Drake's death. That would be cool. I'd be okay with that. I feel like the conflict in the story is really generic and cookie cutter, and the actual conflict that's happening is all of the primary and secondary characters kind of reacting and coming to terms with Tim Drake dying. Watching how his death affects the individual team members as well as how they interact as a unit is really cool. I do feel like throwing Gotham Girl into the story when we're all wanting to see how Tim's friends were affected by his death is kind of like, why do we need Gotham Girl in this? I like the fact that she's at the Batcave and not really a part of the story, because it already has so many moving parts,
Yeah.
But as for now, I'm giving this one a holy, just like its previous counterpart. It's good. It's not perfect. I'm still left wanting more character development amidst all the chaos that's happening in Gotham. But I really feel that they'll deliver in future issues. So I'm giving it a holy for now. Definitely go out and buy this book. It's so much fun. It's just a lot of fun.
Books, I guess.
Yes, books, plural.
Right.
Books. All right. Books. Read. Reading is good.
Reading is great.
We are your reading rainbow for adults. Did you ever watch Reading Rainbow?
I did watch Reading Rainbow, and I'm just trying to figure out how you're going to associate that with comic books for being...
I don't know. I don't remember anything about the show. It was on TBS.
Geordi from Star Trek The Next Generation was the... Lamar Burton is his name.
Okay. I don't know.
The guy with the visor?
Yeah.
Yep.
That sounds familiar. Still have no idea. I don't remember it.
Yeah,
I remember. Okay, I do. I do
you
remember
just about got
guy.
grounded to watch Star Trek The Next Generation.
Yeah, I'm not a Trekkie, though. I mean, I'm not against Star Trek, but I'm definitely not like a big Trekkie.
I'm not a huge Star Trek fan, but, I mean, I like... The Next Generation is probably my favorite thing about Star Trek.
Yeah, I just never was able to get into it. I'm part of the lame new crowd that only likes the new movies or whatever, which, I like them.
Well, knowing is half the battle.
Is that a Reading Rainbow thing? Maybe?
It might be.
Okay.
It could be.
It could be.
Sweet.
Somewhere over the
You know what's not on the Reading Rainbow?
What?
Cyborg, issue number 2, The Imitation of Life.
The Imitation of Life.
Right. All right. Now, this was written by John Semper Jr. It was penciled by Paul Pelletier.
Okay.
And inked by Tony Cordos and Rob Lee.
Nothing sounding familiar to me yet, but okay.
Nope. Okay, so we start the issue. We start with the issue with Cyborg doing the superhero thing and stopping some people who just robbed a bank.
Cool.
Cyborg does. Yep. Cyborg is calling out his technology powers, like being able to find a phone number of the burner phone that the bad guys bought and look up their driver's license info to figure out their names. And then we cut back to Star Labs, where Cyborg is kind of down in the dumps from the message that he heard about it from his father.
We don't know if you're a real person or just a robot imitating a real person.
Yep.
That's sad.
It is sad. And what really has Cyborg worried is he thinks his father might be right.
Yeah, and there's really no way to know.
Right. So, while running some tests, one of the scientists, Sarah, starts talking to Cyborg and thinks that he needs some time to find his humanity and kind of fill his soul.
How does Cyborg take a vacation? He can't get drunk, right? Like he's a robot. He can't have sex because he's a robot. What does he do for fun? Like surf the internet, I guess?
Yeah, probably. Well, what
right? I mean, watch YouTube videos on his eyes or... Yeah,
right. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you know what Sarah does take him to go do?
What?
Ice cream.
So he can't eat ice cream.
They go... But he says that he can eat anything to give him the fuel that he needs. He doesn't have to be food.
Oh man, imagine like how cool that would be if like I could eat anything I wanted and it all amounted to the same thing. Like I'd eat nothing but ice cream and pizza and Red Bull all day long.
Now the sad part is when I read this, I'm like, okay, so he's saying he can eat anything he wants to turn it into energy, but where does he poop?
I don't know, man. It just like turns into energy. What? Why you always gotta bring poop on the show?
Hey, I don't know. That's because I'm not. Never mind. Not gonna go there.
I mean, you have a thing with like food and poop on the show.
Food and poop.
Those are your all right, cool. So they go out to eat ice cream.
So they go get some ice cream, and a couple of kids recognize him and want to get their picture taken with him. And one of the kids asks if Cyborg, if the girl with Cyborg is his girlfriend, and then the other kid said, "No, Cyborg doesn't have a heart, so he can't have a girlfriend." And that kind of didn't help matters either.
Snap.
Yeah. So, Sarah and Cyborg.
Cyborg does have a heart, though. Is the thing. Like, I just watched. We rewatched Flashpoint Paradox, and like, Aquaman rips open his chest, and there's like a real beating heart in there. He stabs it with his trident, or tries to, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Anyway, sorry.
No, it's cool. So, Sarah, since the ice cream didn't work, so Sarah thinks that she's going to take Cyborg to a jazz club.
If ice cream doesn't work, maybe some smooth jazz will.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Cyborg and Sarah, I'm sorry. Cyborg and Sarah go to this jazz club, and Cyborg gets introduced to Blue. Blue and Cyborg talk for a little bit, and Blue helps Cyborg find some of his find what's missing in his soul.
So wait, are you saying Blue gave Cyborg a clue? Blue's Clues? Come on.
Did I beat you to it? No, you did not beat me to that one.
Blue's
that one
Clues,
wasn't even
man.
in the radar.
Come on.
That wasn't even in the radar.
Come on, do you even watch Blue's Clues when you were growing up?
I've never watched Blue's Clues.
I did when I was growing up. Come on, man. All right, so they take him to Blue at the jazz club, where Blue gives Cyborg a clue. And then what?
So after the episode of Blue's Clues at the jazz club with Cyborg, Cyborg actually starts to smile. He starts, you know what? I am human. I still have that humanity in me. I got that soul. He started to feel really good about himself.
The jazz made him feel soulful.
The jazz. It brought back his soul.
The funk and the soul. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then right then, a monster robot named Kilgore comes out and grabs him. And that's the end of the issue.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kilgore, huh?
Kilgore.
And he has to eradicate part of Cyborg.
His humanity.
Yeah. This thing looks like a CGI mess.
Yeah.
It does a little, but it's okay. You know, it's cool.
Yeah. Actually, the art in this was really good.
Yeah. And what did you think of the book?
I love this book.
Yeah, it's fun, right?
Man.
I didn't think I was gonna like Cyborg. I
didn't either. I think that this character, I think Cyborg as a character, they can do a lot with. Right
they do,
now.
Yeah, they could. There's an interesting character, like half man, half robot, struggling with with
humanity.
Humanity.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, I mean, like that's a tough situation to be in for sure, sure. And it's like that's an interesting story to tell. That's a good way to develop a character.
Yeah, and I think Cyborg is a character that definitely needs more developing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
I'm to this day, I'm still not sure if he's ever had his own series or not. I think at most he's had like a mini series.
Yeah,
but he's part of the Teen Titans now. He's part of the Justice League. So
yeah. So the dialogue was good. Man, I really like the dialogue between Blue and Cyborg, and you can really tell how Blue was talking to him, that Cyborg was understanding, and I really think Cyborg, all he really wants for his human side is almost like a fatherly figure, and I think he kind of feels that way, and he sees that in Blue.
What I've found out about like comic book dialogue lately is because like I mentioned last week, and I'm not going to go into a lot of it, but my wife's in the hospital, and because of that, I've been reading her a lot of comics just to pass the time, make her smile, or whatever. And a lot of the dialogue, and my point in this is a lot of the dialogue in comics doesn't feel like something a real person would say. Like when you say it out loud, you're like, this is the stupidest freaking line I've ever said in my life. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this because it doesn't sound real. So I started really paying attention to the dialogue here, and like, how was the dialogue? Does that sound like someone might actually say? Or,
yeah, I mean, it really gave you that feel of walking into a club and ordering a drink and down in the dumps and it gave me that movie feel.
Just a feeling, like it made you feel a certain way.
Hit me
like
right in the feelers. A
little bit of feeling.
Now, there really wasn't much of a villain in this book until the end, Kilgore. But I mean, this did a lot for just character development. In my opinion.
This though? There wasn't a villain, but there was a conflict. There's a conflict.
There was definitely a conflict, and the conflict was with Cyborg.
Yeah, and his inner conflict.
Right? Is he man or is he machine?
Yeah, and that's okay.
And it was a question that he didn't even think about until they found that secret room in Star Labs.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that going on right now in the books. Like, there's a lot of inner conflict. You know, you got Tim Drake's death affecting people, and like that conflict between them, and like, you know, it seems like a lot of this stuff we're reading lately, like the villains are almost secondary. Like, they're not really as important as like developing the heroes. And I think, like, I don't know if that's intentional or not. But I think it's like there's a big storm coming with DC Comics. You know, in 2 years they got a 2-year plan. The Watchmen are involved. There's something big coming, and I think when all the stuff hits the fan, it's going to be really important for readers.
All the poop hits. Thank you again. When all the stuff hits the fan, it's going to be really important that the readers care about these characters and know who they are. That I know that guy. I watched him go from this character to this character, and like now something bad's happening to him, and I actually care, you know?
Yeah.
And
like that's good. Like, I like the fact that they're doing that. You
and
know?
I really hope that Blue becomes an ongoing part in it. I really hope that he goes back to Blue. And Cyborg with Sarah, there's going to be something there. That's definitely going to be his love interest. And he needs it. He definitely needs it.
Yeah, I've never actually seen him be involved with a woman before. I'm not sure if you're a listener, you know, tell us if that's happened in the past. But we'd be interested to hear that. Okay, cool. So, what did you rate this one?
Salvation,
really.
Salvation.
Strong words, buddy.
Man, Cyborg issue number 2 was awesome.
Okay, cool.
Get it? It's a great starting off point. If you didn't read the first one, I would suggest getting the first one too.
I'm actually going to read this one too because I read Rebirth number 1. I really enjoyed it. So I'm in.
Yeah. And, you know, it's good to read different characters. Everybody likes Batman, Superman. But, I mean, like, I'm finding Cyborg is just amazing. I'm finding Green Arrow is just awesome.
Aquaman, I mean, even though this week wasn't such a hot week for him, but he's an interesting character nonetheless.
He's got
an interesting story.
He does. I for some reason, I can't get into it lately.
I had a really hard time, but my wife kind of talked to me about Aquaman, and like, I don't know. I got into it after a certain amount of time. He's like a reluctant king torn between two worlds. Everyone ridicules him from every side of the fence, but I mean, so it's cool, but yeah, I can see where some people might have a difficult time getting into Aquaman when there's so many other cool characters out there. Speaking of not getting into Aquaman, let's give, since I did 2 in a row, let's let you have your kind of slog of the week, because this was a slog.
Yeah.
I didn't even finish it, man, because I had other stuff going on, but
I mean, and I'll get into it more in a minute, but one of the biggest problems that I found with this issue of Aquaman is it tried to do too much.
Well, and I think, like, politics are boring for me.
Right.
I hate politics.
Right. The underlining meanings,
I'm smart enough to know who the good guy is and who the bad guy is, and I'm not going to go into that with the current presidential race. But, like, as far as all the politics of the situation and reading all the articles and learning about all, like, I don't know, man. It bores me, and I feel like it's scheming, and like, I don't know. It's like Joker says in The Dark Knight, like, there's schemers, they scheme and they play game, you know. And I have no interest in it. So like, reading about it in a comic book though is like, this is not what I come to comics for, is to learn about politics. Same reason I dislike politics in Star Wars. It's like, I don't give a crap about the politics in the Star Wars universe, but I don't know. Maybe that's
well,
just
I mean,
me.
it's a direct, politics equals power, and that's what these people are after. So
It feels like the villains are always connected to the politics too, doesn't it?
It does, and that's awesome.
Yeah, and that's like kind of indicative of real life. I mean, politicians are just jerks. Even the one I'm voting for, I don't like. It's like,
right,
man, like that's a tough world to live in. All right, anyway, we're getting off topic here. Let's jump into what did you think?
Okay, all right. Well, this is Aquaman issue number 7. This was written by Dan Abnett, penciled by Scott Eaton, and inked by Gabe Eltabe.
Okay.
Alrighty, and
some beautiful artwork, though.
Yeah, the art wasn't bad. The issue starts off with a bunch of Aquaman High Council members needing his approval for this and that. Just
like
random stuff, running the country stuff.
Atlanteans,
the normal life of a king, I guess. Amara is called out for not being worthy of being an Atlantean queen. Aquaman gets a little bit mad over that, and Aquaman seems to have a lot going on in his mind, and is even wondering if the Justice League ID card is still valid.
Yeah, and there's a Justice League ID card too, which is another thing. Like, really? But okay.
So Arthur is investigating who is trying to start a war with Atlantis by the people who sunk the USS Pontchartrain. Pontchartrain?
Yeah. That happened in the last story arc. Yeah.
Yep.
So there's kind of some subterfuge that was going on or something.
Yep. So their investigation leads them to Coram Wrath, a prisoner who has no love for Aquaman, but is loyal to Atlantis. Aquaman, being very noble in this, and advised Coram that the surface people are pretending to be Atlanteans to start this war. This is enough to get Coram to talk a little bit. Then we go pretty much to the surface, where Black Manta takes control of a secret society called Nemo.
Finding?
Yeah. I think Black Manta found Nemo.
I landed it.
I did.
Shaboom.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll be here for a little while longer.
All right.
and they plan on using some secret weapon on Atlantis.
Right.
The weapon is then used, and this giant mud monster shows up close to Atlantis, and that's where the issue ends.
I'm so happy you kept that recap short, because it was just like, man, I'd so much rather hear about it than read it in this book.
The politics, I tried to overlook that. There is so much different conflict going on in this. Everybody wanted something from Aquaman, and then he didn't really take care of anything. He talked to a couple of them, and one of them was like, "Ed, your wife isn't worthy to be Queen of Atlantis."
Yeah, that's not something you should say.
Would you say that to your king? Your wife? No.
She's a half-breed.
Right.
To your king, who's also a half-breed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe steer clear of that one, or wait till he doesn't have the trident in his hand or something. I don't know.
I do feel like the best part of the art is Atlantis.
Oh, yeah. It's cool.
I do also feel that I want to see more of Atlantis. I want to see more outside the throne room. I want to see, like, just random stuff that's in Atlantis.
Right.
There's a shot of, like, people riding seahorses and stuff like that. I want to see more of that.
Yeah, I do too. And, like, I don't know, man. Like, I want to say, like, it's kind of like Superman for me. Like, whenever you get into Kryptonian culture and stuff, like, I get it, that's where he's from, but what connects the mythology to us as humans is seeing how Superman interacts in a world full of humans, and how, like,
right.
So, like, for Aquaman, it's like, anytime you just dive right into Atlantis.
You said dive.
Yeah, pun. Yeah, that was intended. Anytime you dive right into Atlantis, it's like, yeah, it's cool, but I really like to see how these two governments maybe work together or against each other, and, like, how does this king of Atlantis function in this world full of land dwellers and stuff? I don't know, man. I mean, hopefully it goes somewhere. I am going to read, because the last story arc was very good. I enjoyed the last story arc a lot. I enjoyed, like, the Dark Knight Returns type thing where Aquaman and Superman faced off.
Yeah.
Like, and Superman's acting as an agent of the U.S. government and stuff like that. That's cool. I'll buy that stuff. But, like, I don't know. Like, So I think and this is the same writer. Who is it again? I forget. It's Dan Abnett. It's the same writer doing it. So I think he might bring it back. This may just be a development thing, but I need to. This is definitely a book to sit down and devote your full attention to, I believe.
Well, and it might change after the next couple come out too. So this might be a better part of a trade than.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this could be, we've always said, like, sometimes issues are not suited to, like, how you should read a book. Sometimes it's better to read the full trade.
Right. I mean, it's like a chapter in a bigger book. I mean, so...
Yeah, it's like if I'm reading a novel, it's like, wow, that chapter really drug, but then the next chapter really picked things up and it all made sense, so...
Now, there wasn't really a villain in this until really that. I mean, Black Manta was in for a second.
Nemo, too. Nemo's the...
Well, the bad... Yeah, but... Yeah, and he... That wasn't where the conflict was in this issue. The conflict was all within Atlantis and the what Aquaman needed to do.
Yep.
The thing that I liked the most about this issue was Coram Wrath.
Is he was the prisoner?
He was the prisoner.
Yeah, okay.
I thought that character was awesome. And then even that Aquaman and Coram actually kind of found a little bit of common ground on there.
Because they're both like, they want Atlantis to succeed or whatever.
Right.
One's an extremist and one isn't, but,
I was kind of looking for Aquaman to pretty much pardon him right there and bring him back in like as a guard or something.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and because Aquaman does say that, he doesn't have to, everybody doesn't have to like him.
Right.
I mean, he just has to lead. So.
Yeah.
I didn't like Black Manta in this. I don't like that character in this.
I feel like I don't know enough about that character to decide whether I like him or dislike him.
Yeah.
I want to learn more about him. I know his father died.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's a vengeful son of a gun.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like, he's real mean looking. And he's got a big head. I like his suit. I think it looks kind of cool, I guess. It looks very, like...
kind of sharp,
swashbuckling, like I don't know, like it's very like sea life-ish, but I don't know enough about him to make a determination.
Yeah, so I'm gonna rate this as purgatory.
Yeah, that seems like fair. We were waiting on it to pick up and get better,
and it didn't. I mean, and I hope it will. I wanted to blasphemy this for a while, and then I couldn't. I think the art was too
mad
good.
At it. You're like, man, why are you making me read all this crap?
Right.
Like, I don't want to read. You open it up right away, and it's like 7 names that I'm not going to remember. Like,
right.
That's the very first thing you read. It's like, what is it? Hold on. I want to give you some examples here, because like you pop this baby open, and like you want to be drawn in, and it's like. Koa, Elder Law, Zekel Neal, High Lord of the Armies, Sensual Kai, Karkador, Mistress of the Fleet, Jirok Bisk, Keeper of the Monsters, and Roa, Elder of Science. I'm not going to remember a single one of those names in like two seconds. And
the weapon that Nemo has is all about making some weird-looking mud monster?
Yeah, it looks like a Doomsday type thing, or like if Doomsday was like made in the ocean or something like that. This is Aquaman's Doomsday, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. I know nothing about him. But.
Well, if Aquaman's Doomsday is going to kill Aquaman, I might be okay with that right now.
No, come on, man. He's a necessary part of the team. He's got a movie. He's got a movie coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. All right, you're not a big Aquaman fan. We've established that. Okay, that's okay though.
I would love to be proved wrong though.
Yeah. Hey, I think you will be, man. I do. I think Aquaman's got some good things in store. I'll pick up the Aquaman review next time though, just so you don't have to slog your way through it.
All right, sounds good.
All right, so next up, I have Green Lanterns #7, which was another delight. It was just a lot of fun. Written by Sam Humphries and art by Ronan Cliquette. So in this book, we learn a little bit more about Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz. The book opens up with Jessica telling herself that she can do this as she stares into her reflection in a bathroom mirror. She's like, I can do this. Something intense is about to happen. She's building herself up so she can go out and deal with Simon's family. That's what it turns out to be. Jessica has extreme amounts of social anxiety, so this is kind of tough for her to go walk out and deal with Simon's family.
Right.
So she decides to just like bail and like run outside. Out on the front lawn, Jessica attempts to she's like, what should I do? I'll do anything but this. I want to deal with his family, which I've dealt with that before. I have social anxiety, so it's like I don't want to be in front of all these people and try and make eye contact and talk to him. She's like, I'm gonna call Darkseid up, see if he wants to hang out. What does Darkseid do? He eats ramen noodles. I'll call Darkseid, see if he wants to eat some ramen noodles.
You just totally identify or described my 13-year-old daughter.
Yeah. Darkseid eating ramen. What?
Darkseid eating ramen noodles.
Okay, sure, whatever. Basically, she's looking for an excuse to bail on this thing at Simon's house. Simon comes out and convinces Jessica to come back inside and help him bake some cookies. Then there's this long dialogue where Simon is telling Jessica about how he's always disappointing his mom, and he just wants to make her proud of him. The cookies are kind of a big deal because they're a recipe that Simon's mom brought over to the United States from Lebanon when they immigrated to the United States.
Are they chocolate chip?
No, they're like... I forget what they're called. But
okay.
Yeah. So after a bunch of kind of funny shenanigans and antics, they get the cookies made just in time for Simon's mom to arrive. Like they're baking the cookies using their Green Lantern powers. Like he makes like a green beater thing where he's beating the dough, or food mixer,
right?
With his ring. It's kind of fun.
I think that's what I would do with a Green Lantern. Right?
Yeah, I would too. Or I'd just not have to lean forward to get the remote to the TV. I don't know.
True.
Something super heroic like that.
Yeah.
All right, so then...
that's why you're the Green Lantern, right? So you don't have to work out.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Simon's mom comes in. She arrives. Simon tells his mom that he's a Green Lantern, and she's a little apprehensive about that at first, but ends up accepting after he explains it to her a little more and how he's a hero and stuff like that. Simon's mother tells him that she's proud of him for everything that he's doing, even though he's risking his life, and we get sort of a touching moment between Simon, his mom, and Jessica and the rest of Simon's family. The issue ends with a rogue guardian who's been staying in Simon's family's spare bedroom looking up and screaming, "The Dominators are coming!" And then flying away with Simon and Jessica kind of flying after him. Do you know who the Dominators are? I've never heard of them.
No, I don't.
All right, so it's a new villain though.
Cool.
So, the next issue is called All Hallows Eve.
Ooh.
And this book was another great installment in the Green Lantern's Rebirth titles. The artwork was really just as good as the work that's been in the Superman titles, which I'm going to talk about next. Everything flows really well. Like sometimes I have flow problems with kind of I don't know where they're going or whatever, which way to look, but this didn't have that, so that was good. The colors, spectrums are always really cool. I mentioned that a couple times in a Green Lantern book. All the colors are really cool. I feel like the art is good, but not great. It's definitely beautiful, but doesn't really stand out a ton other than the huge color spectrums that always accompany these books. As far as the narrative in this book, it's mainly told through Simon and Jessica getting to know more about each other. There's lots of dialogue, but it's all really good, and it sounds like things, like I was saying before, that actual people would say. It's really fun getting to know more about the two Green Lanterns and how they're both complete polar opposites of each other, but how they attract and sort of work together as a team through unstoppable odds and stuff.
Do you think they're going to end up together?
I don't actually. And actually, there was this moment in the Justice League book, kind of like a romantic moment between the Flash and Jessica.
Ooh.
Or that's the vibe that I got.
Okay.
Between Barry Allen and Jessica.
But that
Cruz.
was in the Justice League books, so...
Yeah, but I don't know. I got a really strong suspicion that there was some romantic feelings between the two, which I thought Barry was with Iris, but...
Yeah.
No, because in the Flash book, he's dating Fast Track. But we don't know if she's dead or alive right now, so maybe, see, that's one of those little clues. Maybe the Justice League is taking place after the Flash book, because maybe Fast Track is dead, and now he's in with
lonely,
Jessica.
right,
yeah, that could be it. See those little clues, like, they're finding little
breadcrumbs.
Yeah. So, I'm very glad that they're kind of taking a break from the Red Lanterns thing and moving on to something else, just because I feel like the Red Lanterns was a huge opponent to take on for such a new team.
Yeah.
And I know nothing about the Dominator, but I'm excited to learn about this new foe and see how just Simon and Jessica work together to face off with it. One thing I really enjoyed about this issue was the fact that it didn't really have a protagonist or an antagonist, just like a lot of the books. You know, there's just like, it took a break from the whole bad guy conflict that accompanies so many Marvel and DC titles that are centered around this conflict that Simon's having with himself, which is the eternal struggle to make one's parents proud of them. And this is really cool because it kind of gets away from the whole superhero vibe and brings the story closer to the reader's level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so anytime that a writer can take a mythological figure like the Green Lantern or Superman or Spider-Man or whatever superhero and bring them down to our level, it always adds a lot more interest to the story. That's why, that's one reason why I didn't get into Superman for such a long time, because he's just a god to us, and it's difficult to see a connection point for an average Joe type guy like myself to make with him. But this book achieved that kind of connectivity, Simon and Jessica's inner struggles. I mean, I've dealt with trying to make my parents proud of me. I think everyone has at one point or another. I've struggled with social anxiety in a huge way. And because of that, I was able to connect with these heroes. And, you know, that's sort of that character development that's happening where we can connect with them. If I had to point out a weak point on this book, I really don't know if I could. The artwork was great and flowed really well. There was good and realistic amount of drama. There was comedic parts of the book that kind of gave us a break from the dramatic elements. There was a good sort of preview or Easter egg of what's going to come in future issues with the Dominator. I'm reluctant to give this one Salvation just because I don't want it to sound like I'm giving everything good reviews, but I can't think of anything I changed, so I'd say Salvation.
Cool.
If you're new to the books, definitely give it a shot. If you're into Green Lanterns and you're a season reader, I'd say it's right up your alley. Just keep reading it. So, yeah. What do you think?
Man, I would have to agree. Green Lantern's doing it right, and a lot of these books, they're going human right now, which I think is a great break from everything that's been going on so far. I'm going to talk about Trinity, and that was kind of the feel of Trinity.
Yeah, I agree. I read Trinity as well, and I got that feeling as well. So, you know, it's really good to give us like that connectivity that we need, and I think that's part of what Rebirth does. Is it's like this hope and joy and connecting the readers to their that's why I don't read so many Marvel books, is because they feel so far gone from like where I am in my life.
Right.
It's
yes, you are Superman, but you're also Clark Kent.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
and you're a real person.
You're Wonder Woman, but you're also Diana Prince. You know, I mean,
and you struggle with things that humans can identify with. And if you can make me, a non-Superman fan, identify with Clark Kent, then you've done your job. Because I went into that not wanting to do it. Like I never wanted to be a Superman fan. He never interested me at all. But since I started reading DC Rebirth, I am a Superman fan. I enjoy reading his stories. You know, like last week there was a story just about Clark Kent, and that was good. Like I enjoyed that, and I don't know, man, it's good. They're doing a great job so far. So
yep, character development is key.
Absolutely. So all right, so
well, talking about Trinity,
yep.
Let's go ahead and jump right into it now. The script and the script and the art is by Francis Manapul, and so Wonder Woman Diana and Batman Bruce Wayne are invited to dinner on Kent Farm by Lois. And now, before I get too far into this, I'm gonna just call them Diana and Bruce, because this book, that's who they are. They're not Wonder Woman. They're not They're not Batman.
There's no superheroes in this entire book, really.
Yeah,
a little bit with Wonder Woman, like a flashback.
Yeah,
but
that's it. Yeah. So they were invited to dinner at the Kent Farm from Lois, because Lois wants to get to know the people that have her husband's back, which that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And she wants them to, like, you know, become grounded, real people with real lives outside of just being superheroes.
Yeah, and both Diana and Bruce start off kind of reluctant to go, but they soon decide that, yeah, it needs to happen.
Diana brings a freaking boar with her.
And then John, using his X-ray vision, sees it, and he crashes through the door and tackles Bruce.
No, he doesn't tackle him, man. He sees the bat symbol, and he zaps through the door with his heat vision. And I'm surprised Bruce survived, but I guess he's always wearing body armor under that thing, so...
They have a wonderful dinner, and Lois tells them that she wants She wanted them there to know that she had Clark's back, like I was just saying.
Yep.
Clark and Bruce go do some bonding. We even get a cool throwback to Batman's rainbow suit.
I didn't actually know about that before I read this book.
I saw it in like one of those articles that you find on online or Facebook, that the 15 worst Batman suits ever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's where I've seen it.
I
before.
do recall seeing something about that now that I think about it. I kind of brushed it off.
Yeah. So Diana confides in Lois about how she lost, or how she is. Diana confides in Lois about how lost she is without knowing her true identity.
And this was kind of a big moment for me, just because we had the old Superman who was with Lois Lane.
Right.
Then we had the New 52 Superman who was married to Wonder Woman. Then the New 52 Superman died. The old Superman's here and he's married to Lois Lane. So you got like kind of a standoff between like, you know, both of them were married to Superman, just different versions of him.
Right.
So it's like Wonder Woman's husband's gone, and Lois is like, "You aren't coming after my man, dude." Like, like, I don't know. You wonder like if that's going to be kind of catty or a love triangle or something, but it's not. Actually, it's not at all. Yeah, they get along. So.
Yeah, Diana pretty much tells Lois that no, he's not the same person that I fell in love with. He's a different person.
Yep.
And I think that was really needed. I think because there are those different Supermen that have come out, that I think it was really needed that even Wonder Woman knows this is not the same person.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of stuff happen, man. We have the old storyline and the new storyline coming together, and the fact that DC is taking the time to like step away from the action and like how is this stuff affecting like each other, you know, all the inner working dynamics between all these characters. It's like, it's good. This was a moment that I know for a fact a lot of readers were waiting for, was Diana and Wonder Woman, or Diana and Lois Lane meeting up and kind of talking about that. So yeah, that was cool to read. And
I really liked the setting of the dinner table. You know, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly thought it was ingenious. So
yeah, and watching Bruce wear like a plaid shirt, one of Clark's
that was
plaid
awesome.
shirts, and be like kind of embarrassed about that. That was funny.
Yeah. But yeah, and then Diana, Clark, and Bruce are all standing outside, and they hear something come from the barn, and they walk in the barn, and that's pretty much where the issue ends.
Well, yeah, and they see like this last page kind of confused me because they see like.
Too. It was like a flashback to Clark from when he was
when Clark was a kid. Yeah, but it looks like they're seeing their reflection in it, like it's a piece of glass, and they're seeing a window to that or something.
You know, I didn't pick that up.
Yeah,
I just thought that it was Clark thinking about something in the past.
Yeah, I had to look at it for a second, but that's what it looks like. Is like they're looking at a mirror or a window or something, and they're seeing into the past that's happening.
Interesting.
I don't know. So yeah, it's weird. I wonder.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if this is going to connect to the overarching DC Rebirth story, or if it's going to be something else. We don't know enough to say.
I think it'll be something to set up whatever the conflict's going to be that the Trinity has to deal with.
Yeah, it's definitely going to set up the overarching like Trinity storyline, because like here it's like now we fleshed out our characters, we're going to like get into what's happening.
Right.
So.
And you know, I mean, like the art in this book was fantastic. It was a different style than I've really ever seen before. I haven't seen a lot of art the way that it was done in this book. It was more of like dirtier tones.
Yeah, it was good. I'm trying to think. Hold on. I'm grabbing the book right now just so I can take a look at it here, but yeah, I like this thing they did with the panels at the beginning here, where they're like in the shape of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Like it was kind of cool.
And Wonder Woman leaving the invisible jet. And it was the first time that I saw the invisible jet. And I didn't think it was hokey.
Yeah, it actually, we had to look at it for, my wife and I were reading this together. We had to look at it for a second to realize that was the invisible jet at first. But like it was cool. It was very like painterly. Like it looks like a painted style of artwork. So I like that. Yeah, it's very painterly and stylized. It's cool. As an artist, I think that's like they did an A+ job on this book.
Yeah. I liked how the narrative was told over dinner, just like a family is talking. You know, how was your day? And I think was the point of everything in this.
Yeah, it's relationship building, character development and stuff. More and like. that's a consistent tone with all the DC books, which again I feel like is something that Marvel's lacking, because like Marvel has so many books that come out every week, and like none of them are on the same page, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I really can't think of that I've ever read a book like this Trinity issue #1.
I'm sure they exist, because like there's some heritage and history and traditions in this, like, and DC is grounded in heritage and traditions and stuff, but I think this is getting some of that back, which I don't really have, not having read all that older stuff.
Yeah.
I can't really say that I know much about it, but I do get a feeling that it's like, yeah, these guys are a family.
Yeah.
Their relationships are deeply ingrained within the universe here, and like this is like, you know, it's good. It's a great, I love it. I'm glad they did this.
Right, and I can't think of one thing that I would change in this book.
I can't really either, man.
I mean, that last shot might be something, but I mean, I guess I didn't really feel like confused.
More of a layout issue.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't feel confused. Oh, okay, I can see.
You see, they're like looking in their reflection.
Yeah. Huh.
But that was more of just a layout thing, you know. That's all it was.
Yeah.
Like, other than that, no, it was a great book. I don't know.
Right.
I feel like people are going to think we're losing credibility because we have so many good things to say, but it was just a good week for a lot of comic books.
And it was like a super non-action, too. I mean, this week, the books were either really bad or really good.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, man, I don't know.
This is a salvation to me. I mean, this is the definition of the salvation for me. I mean, it didn't need action, and it needed that it's the Trinity, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman getting along, getting to know each other, and
I mean, for two people who I know, or me, I can't speak for you, but for me, like, I really enjoy action, and I like Titans a lot. I like the action that's happening in Titans, and it's like, it's an action-packed book, and it's fun every step of the way for me. There are people that I know that disagree with me on the art in that book, but I really enjoy it. And, you know, so for someone that likes action so much, to have so many comics that have such a small amount of action, and yet I'm giving so many reviews that are good, it's just like, man, you guys killed it this week, knocked it out of the park. Like, I sincerely enjoyed reading all of my books this week. So, well, not all of them, but the majority.
Yeah,
more
Justice League was kind of Justice League was off.
Yeah,
Aquaman was off.
I don't know. I still enjoyed Justice League because I thought of all the ways I'm going to make fun of it. Like, I'm just like, I'm like, I'm going to bash this so hard when I'm reviewing it. I kid. The writers and artists on that team, I'm sure they've done good work in the past.
Oh, I'm sure they have too. And
we've all had our off days at work. You know, I've had my fair share of days at work where I make some mistakes. You know, and that's their day job here. Is like, these guys make comic books, and not everyone can be a winner. You know,
right? And I mean, and there's so many different styles. There's so many different art styles and everything like this. I mean, I don't ever really see a lot of bad art. I mean, there's not.
I do,
like,
but I'm
you're more of an artist,
yeah.
and I'm not. I'm a writer. I like to write. I like the story.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, to me, when I see the art, if I can see it in my head, and if that's what it does, then it's successful in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we're both still kind of like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, just because we've really just begun to immerse ourselves in comic books. So I don't think we as people who review these things have as good of a feel on if something is considered maybe cliche or not innovative or original, because maybe we haven't read enough yet. I think it's going to be really interesting after like 6 or 7 months of doing this, if we're like, maybe we see something like this and we're like, that's not original at all. People do that all the time in comic books, but we just don't. We haven't read
it's
enough.
Original to us.
Yeah, it's original to us because we're newer to this, and so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And we'll, just like anything else, we'll get better as we do it.
Exactly, and we are running into a lot of good books because Rebirth is just good, and we want you to experience it. So
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm not going to tell you to buy a bunch of crap.
Yeah, if something's crap or I don't think you should buy it, I'll tell you. But there's a lot of good stuff happening in Rebirth, and as a whole, man, I'm really happy that I'm reading all of it, and I'm happy. I'm enjoying the ride. So I got one more book to review, and then we'll kind of take care of some other business. Speaking of the Trinity, I'm going to go into Superman #7, where we kind of got away from a lot of action. It's written by Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason, with art by Jorge Jimenez.
Cool cover.
Yeah, very cool cover. Very cool art, man. Very wholesome art. Wholesome is the word. First off, a short recap of what happened in this issue. Superman's going around helping out members of the Justice League like he does. Everything seems to be really hunky-dory as he flies back home to his family in Hamilton County on Kemp Farms. His family wants to go to the Hamilton County Fair, and Clark says that he'll go with them. Lois is kind of skeptical about him actually coming because he's been out every night Supermaning. Nonetheless, the three of them all go to the fair together, where we get a genuinely joyful look at Clark interacting with his family. Jonathan, a.k.a. the new Superboy, gets some FaceTime in with his new crush, Kathy. Clark and Lois get some romance in with each other, and everything seems to be going great. The conflict in this issue is a one-off situation where some teenagers try to rob the ticket booth at the fair, and Clark sneaks off to stop them. The issue ends with Clark coming back from stopping the miscreant teenager and riding a roller coaster with his family. Lois asks Clark where he went, and he replies that he just had a touch of lactose intolerance, which Lois knows is complete BS because he's Superman.
Yeah.
The issue ends with Clark, Lois, and Jonathan all going up on the first drop of the roller coaster and overhearing the roller coaster attendants talking about how Superman just stopped some kids from robbing the ticket booth. And as they're all about to go down the drop of this roller coaster, Lois yells, "I knew it!" and looks at Clark, and he's like looking down all guilty because she knew he wouldn't be able to resist the urge to be a hero for just one night. The end. And
great.
Yeah, it's great. It's like classic. It's such a like wholesome like I used to hate the Boy Scout kind of thing with Superman, but like I don't know. It's endearing. Like, it's fun. It's like, it's not... He's a real guy, and there's real problems that he fixes, but, like, there's also, like, that side of him that's really cool. So I have to say the artist did a wonderful job. It's wholesome artwork, is what I said.
Great word to describe that, too.
Wholesome.
I mean, that's... Yeah,
it
that's
just occurred to me. It's like, yeah, that's what it is. It's really clean artwork. The panels are really big, and just like wide shots of like all this stuff, like the fair and like Kent Farms and all that stuff. It's really cool to look at. Yeah. The people were a tiny bit cartoony, but not so much that it feels like a children's book.
Especially at the end with Lois when they're going down the roller coaster, you got that like, one cartoon pose.
It feels like a Sunday morning cartoon strip almost, like just kind of a funny moment. You know, it's just enough to like be comedic and fun. So the colors were really bright and kind of lent themselves to the genuine and joyful nature of this classic Superman book. The writer is telling the Superman narrative through Clark and his interactions with his family. Watching them try to keep up this facade of a normal family in Hamilton County while Clark and now Jonathan are off superheroing on the side is a really cool dynamic and an absolute joy to watch. The dialogue in this book was solid. There weren't a lot of cheesy lines. I would sometimes expect that from a Superman story, you know.
Right.
As a new reader of DC, which I started with New 52 and got really into things at Rebirth, I'm learning a lot about Superman that I didn't know before. In this issue, you kind of see that he's kind of like a people pleaser. Like, he's off helping everyone, like all the Justice League members. He has a family at home that's demanding him to take care of him. He has a whole town of people that he has to keep up this normal facade in front of. He has a lot on his plate, which doesn't even just slightly seem to faze him.
Man, I wish I had that attitude between work, school, and
right?
my family.
Yeah, I know,
Man.
right? Like, I guess that's why they call him Superman.
I guess so.
They don't give him that name for nothing.
That's right.
All right, but it does bring to question whether or not the writer will at some point address how much of a workload he takes on every day and whether that ever is going to, like...
build up on him.
Be too much for him, or is he just Superman and he can handle it, you know? And if that's the case, maybe that's
truth, justice, and the American way.
Yeah. The antagonists in this book weren't even secondary, man. They were just some little to... kind of make a funny anecdote. It was just an issue that was intended to give us a window into Clark and his family, and the kids breaking into the ticket booth were just a one-off sort of thing that happened quick, and then it was gone. in other words, I don't see these guys taking over the world with Lex Luthor anytime in the near future.
No.
Yep. My favorite thing about this book was just seeing Clark interact with his family and the normies in Hamilton County. I do kind of wonder if this started off a new story arc or if they're going to start a new story arc with the next issue and this was just a one-off.
Sure.
Because I don't really see the events of this being pertinent to future issues, but maybe they will be. I don't know. The only thing I didn't really like about this book was the lack of any real lasting conflict. Everything just seemed kind of hunky-dory and fine, but there were a couple little things. I just feel like there could have been more conflict, maybe.
Yeah.
But Tomasi and Gleason haven't disappointed us yet. They've done a great job with Superman, so I have all faith in them. Definitely is a great place for a new reader to start with this issue, because I feel like you could just jump in right here and no prior knowledge and you'd be okay. If you're a Superman fan, or even if you're not, I'd highly recommend picking up this title. It's a holy for me, not a salvation, but it definitely a strong holy. So
excellent.
Yep. I did not find quotes this week.
I did.
Oh, you did? All right, well, we'll just do yours, though.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, shall we play a game?
Let's play a game.
So I can fail horribly like I normally do at this?
Yep, that's why I like it so much.
Yeah, you like watching me fall face first into the comic book concrete.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, are you ready?
I'm ready. I was born ready.
Were you really? I was like 6 weeks early.
That's...
Okay.
Like a spider monkey.
Spider monkeys were born 60 weeks early?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm tired.
Okay. All right. Your emotional receptors are a bit sensitive. Remind me to adjust them when we get back to Star Labs.
Oh, that's Cyborg.
No.
Is that Cyborg's girly girl?
Girly.
Yeah,
girly girl. Sarah.
I forget her name. Sarah. Okay,
Sarah. All right. Let's see here. Let's go. I have no recollection of this.
Recollection?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have no recollection of this.
What, that's it? That's all you're giving me?
That's all I'm giving you.
That's not much to go off of, man. I want to say it's one of the Green Arrow characters, maybe, with the Clock King. Maybe Green Arrow? Green Arrow?
No.
I don't know.
Nope.
Am I in the right book, at least?
No, you're not in the right book.
Oh, man. I have no recollection of this. Is it Wonder Woman from Trinity?
No. Right book, though. And that's your two guesses, so
Okay.
you're wrong.
Okay.
It's Bruce Wayne about the rainbow suit.
Yeah, the rainbow suit. Okay, yeah, okay. I remember. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Okay. Let's see here. I got one more. Did you say prove she is worthy?
Aquaman.
Yep.
Yep. I need that one.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
That's it.
That's
That's what I got.
That's all you got.
Yeah.
That's all she wrote, huh?
Yep. Well, that's all I wrote.
Okay. I'll buy it. All right. So, weekly confessionals. I don't believe we actually have any weekly confessionals. I just want to make sure that there's no iTunes reviews that snuck their way in here. So let me take a look here.
While you're doing that, Ben, are you catching any of the new TV shows that popped up? Oh, the fall TVs?
Yeah, Gotham was really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was also a lot of fun.
Dude, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was awesome. I did not think I was going to like Ghost Rider, but I really did.
I did. I like Ghost Rider a lot, so that was really cool.
Yeah, and I like the darker tone with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I hope that's what it is now.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's the element that they needed to get that show off and running.
Absolutely.
Was Ghost Rider. Because that show's been dragging for a while for me.
Yeah, it has.
But I always want to be into it. I like the character. I like Daisy a lot. And
Quake, yeah.
Yeah, Quake. She's a lot of fun. So, all right. So no weekly confessional this week. But that being said, we are on Twitter. I'm Ben Dupey, BenDupey. Brad is Brad_Butin. Butin.
Yeah, but I think it's Bradley Butin.
Oh, he's Bradley.
Yeah, Bradley. BRADLEY.
_
Butin.
Yep. And then we are on Facebook, Nerd Church Radio. We are on Patreon. if you donate to us, we now have levels of patronage, which I will tell you about. If you pledge $1 a month, we will give you a shout-out on the show. If you pledge $3 per month, we will give you a shout-out on the show and mail you one of our favorite comic books. If you pledge $5 a month, we will mail you one Funko Pop vinyl figure and give you a shout-out on the show. If you pledge $10 a month, we will send you a Funko Pop vinyl figure and you can come on the show and talk comics with us for one episode. And if you pledge $20 a month, which if you're doing that, you're crazy, but we will certainly appreciate it, we will send you one Funko Pop vinyl, one of our favorite comic books, and let you come on an episode of the show with us. Patreon.com/nerdchurchradio. In addition to that, we also have a GoFundMe campaign where we're trying to make some t-shirts. So Patreon's more if you want to like donate to us on a monthly basis and help us with server costs and all the costs that are accompanying with the show. Or if you just want to make a one-time donation, we are at gofundme.com/nerdchurchradio, I believe. Yep, and that is a t-shirt campaign where you can check out the design for our Thumbs Up Knuckle Bump t-shirt. We are trying to raise $1,000 to print 800 of these shirts and then give them away in contests to promote the show. So take a look at that. It's Brad's idea, my design, really cool shirt.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so help us out with that if you feel the need. We are on iTunes and Stitcher and going to have a contest. So we're starting to do, we have a YouTube channel as well where we're doing like subscription box reviews. Loot Crate is something that I've done for a while. So I'm going to be reviewing my Loot Crate on a monthly basis. If you give us an iTunes review and email me to confirm at nerdchurchradio@outlook.com, I will put you in a contest to win a free Loot Crate. I'm going to order an extra Loot Crate for the month of October, and I will mail it to the winner of this contest if we get enough contestants. All you have to do is get on iTunes and give us a review, and then email me to let me know that you did it. You don't even have to email me. I'll see it on there, and if you won, I'll reach out to you on the show, or you can email me so I have your contact information. You know how to reach me. I don't know how to reach you, but I want to give you some free stuff. So get involved. Do it. We want to interact with our listeners. We know you're out there, and we want to talk to you. Let's see. So, buy these comic books. Very important. Can't say it enough. Buy the comic books or they won't get made. If you are in the Des Moines, Iowa area, go to Mayhem Comics. Mayhem is wonderful. They will give you 10% off of your comics if you set up a pull file with them. Scripture assignment for this week. This week I read Volume 1 of New 52 Aquaman, written by the one and only Jeff Johns, and it was awesome. It was like... It reminded me of Blackest Night, just because there were scary fish monsters that like kind of same art style. So really good book, and I will have a next one for you next week. Am I forgetting anything else?
I don't think so.
We really want iTunes reviews. Those mean so much to us.
Please.
We want questions too. If you have questions that you want us to answer on the show, if you want us to give you a shout out, we just want to interact with our listeners. So that would mean the world to us. We
want to know you.
Yeah, and know that we're providing something that you like every month. Yeah, whatever.
What don't you like?
Exactly.
Who's your favorite comic book character?
Yeah, anything. So other than that, I think that's all I got. Do you got anything else, Brad?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, with that, I'll say peace be with you.
And also with you.
Praise be to comics.